Greetings, friends, and welcome to another episode of The Mistake Zone, your weekly dose of our lives and the mistakes within them. My name is Jaren Wade. Joining me, as always, one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Matt Alba. Hey, Matt.
Yo.
How are you doing?
Yo, I'm doing good.
Matt, I wish I was doing good.
Oh no, Jared, what's wrong?
My shoulder is not the greatest right now. Specifically, my right shoulder blade, and
Oh
man, Matt,
Jaren, is this you hurt yourself or your old issue?
I think it's the latter because
Okay.
I still did my daily workout and pretty good, but I think I'm neglecting on my stretching, Matt. And at our age right now, I think we definitely need to stretch at least more than I do on a regular basis. Plus, I did Matt, as someone who is always conscious and I'll just say it, ashamed of their posture, I did another test of, hey, can you please take a side profile picture of me when I'm standing normally, just so I can see how bad my neck is.
Oh man.
And I did a side-by-side comparison where I did a side picture of me standing straight like I normally do, and then one where I'm leaning up against a wall and just doing that neck stretch where you're back against the wall, you put your neck up to kind of align it to the wall as well. And just going back and forth, swiping between those two pictures, not pretty. Not a pretty picture. But
Jaren, I want you to know that you made me adjust my sitting position just now.
I still don't have a headrest for my chair, and I should really find some sort of attachment for it just to help me out with my current situation. But Matt, let's get off a topic that makes me feel bad because this is honestly my life. But after we went to the movies last weekend, we stopped by a local Asian grocery store nearby. And Matt, my partner, and I found some tapioca. And we thought, okay, we love us some bubble tea. But considering how much bubble tea is right now, Matt, we thought, okay, we're going to pick up some tapioca, try making it at home, and then picking up some instant milk tea.
Okay.
And a matcha ginger latte. And Matt, I think we're... Okay, to kind of tell you how that went, I'm also currently on Amazon looking for a metal boba straw set that has a straw cleaner with it. Because I think this is now... I think the Mistake Zone HQ is now a homemade boba only house. Because Matt, we're still trying to get the proper mixture of, after you do your boba, mixing it with some almost caramelized brown sugar. But we're almost there, Matt. Almost there. I think this will be a nice occasional treat and not breaking the bank anymore because, Matt, too expensive out there. Too expensive.
Yeah.
And I have to ask on the start of this episode, Matt, have you made some homemade tappy recently?
Not recently. Jaren, I kind of don't really get tapioca inside my bubble tea anymore, which I think
it's expensive now, Matt. It's like 75 cents now.
It makes it not bubble tea, I guess. I like going for the puddings. I like pudding in my bubble tea.
Pudding is fair.
As my what do you call it? Thing to put in it.
How would you rank, Matt? I know we're talking about potential episodes we can pre-record when you, Rakush, and Kevin go to Japan, but I was trying to float around an idea like this of pick 3. And Matt, how would you rank grass jelly, tappy, and pudding for your beverage? 1 to 3.
1 to 3, I think, would be pudding, grass, jelly, tapioca.
You know what, Matt? That's fair.
I didn't expect to like grass jelly, Jaren. That was a surprise for me when I first had that.
Same with me, Matt. I think pudding also threw me off this at the same time because, Matt, for the most part, pudding is essentially flan. But
yeah,
there was a time I went to I think it was cha time. Yeah, it was cha time, and I got their Kit Kat milk tea, one of their monthly specials or whatever, and it was Kit Kat, but also essentially Nutella hazelnut spread at the bottom, and that was kind of the first time I had bubble tea with something that was actual pudding consistency that I originally thought of.
I
And
see.
let's just say, Matt, Nutella in the bottom of a cup does not mix well with your boba straw.
Oh man.
And it was kind of awful, Matt. Kind of awful. Don't recommend if there's a variation of that in your local bubble tea place of choice.
Jaren, have you been to that one in our area where it's a kind of like mochi like not filling, I don't know what it'd be called, topping? No.
I have not.
Jaren,
What's the review, Matt? What's the review?
it is so strange, Jaren, because it changes consistency as you're drinking it.
Is this a hot or a cold drink?
I get it cold. I think you can get it hot.
Okay.
I think Rakush got it hot. I got it cold with just like a standard like black milk tea. But it is kind of like just like balled mochi. But
Right.
at first, like, you're kind of like getting the mochi bits to it. And then our mochi balls, and they're coming up kind of like tapioca. And it has like, a consistency I expected. But over time, I guess like mochi itself isn't, I don't know, stable, strong, or like stable enough to stay in that ball shape for a long period of time.
Right.
So it starts to become almost like a pudding, but in the like chocolate pudding kind of sense instead of the
Yeah.
flan pudding. And that shift over time is very, very interesting. And I kind of both, it's one of those things where I'm not sure exactly where I stand on it because it's such a weird experience.
Now that feels like, I don't know, a lot more interactive when it comes to my bubble tea drink, where I'm like really curious about it now. And speaking of, that area near the Saturday morning arcade clubhouse, Matt, I just feel like my TikTok algo is feeding me just a new quote unquote hotspot near that area, whether it be a Filipino bakery tucked away in a weird parking lot behind a Canada Computers, or this fancy bubble tea crepe shop. Again, because for the most part, that area, I don't want to say it's industrial per se, but it's one of those, I think architecture wise, a lot of the building like lots there are really dated.
Yeah.
And when they're contrasted with essentially all of these pretty chic interiors, I think it's kind of wild. And Matt, can I say something really fucked up, I guess? Every time I get served something new, I think, and I don't wish this on any business, but realistically in this economy, I think, how long is this gonna stay open?
Jared, you should go to the Filipino bakery while it's still open because it's pretty good.
No. Okay. I've heard a lot of good things for it, but Matt, all I'm saying is it's getting hard to chase our dreams right now. Speaking about being hard to survive in general, but Matt, we have to find our simple joys where we can. And Matt, for me this week, it's another installment of Jaren's Kira Kira Sparkling Water review. Matt,
Yeah.
for my third week of doing this reoccurring bit, that I'm honestly impressed that third weekend I'm still into it. But Matt, I'm drinking a new sparkling water beverage this week.
Yes.
From Bubly. I believe Bubly is, I think that's a Coke brand, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like Coke or Pepsi. It's one of those two.
But Matt, I have one of their holiday drinks in my hand right now.
Wait, hang on. Is it a holiday drink or it's like a specifically a holiday flavor?
It's a holiday flavor. I guess a special holiday flavor because Matt, I'm looking at the can right now. It's decorated like I guess an ugly Christmas sweater. I see a reindeer. I see gingerbread men. I see musical Matt. I see musical notes, and this will be apparent in a sec. But Matt, this is the special Michael Buble collaboration because the Bubly logo has the Y crossed out and like the E with the apostrophe over it, so it says Buble. And that I'm drinking the Mary Berry Buble.
Oh man.
For our reviewing purposes this week, which was, the collaboration with, I said, MB, Michael Buble. And I believe this was one of the special editions for the holidays because, Matt, I'm looking at the pop tab right now. It says ho ho on it. And
only two?
Here we go, Matt.
Only two?
Only two.
Oh.
It's on a pop tab, Matt.
Oh, okay.
Understandable. But let's give this a taste. All right, Matt. I like me a good bubbly.
Yes.
And I think with the aftertaste, you do get that strong berry, I guess artificial berry aftertaste, but when I don't know if I taste the Mary, Matt.
Oh.
Matt, I just realized it says MB, and I thought that was Michael Buble, but it could also mean Mary Berry.
True.
Pretty good, but I don't mind this, Matt. I don't mind this. I couldn't tell you what berry is in the aftertaste, but it's that artificial berry you would kind of expect. Little ASMR for you, Matt. But Matt, I like this. I like this.
Oh, man. Jaren, I didn't realize it until I was editing last week's podcast that you've created an ASMR segment for the Mistake Zone.
I try. I've been, Matt, you know how much I love Hololive. I've been inspired by Choco, Noelle, Fauna, and, I feel like people drinking sparkling water as our ASMR is a represented niche that I think we can tune into. But Matt, I think Mary Berry Buble, I think is currently my number one right now. I like this, man.
Oh, man.
I really like this. I think, it's not only because I love consumerism and I like a good collaboration. I think this collaboration makes sense, but I do like the berry aftertaste. Matt, when you think of artificial berry, what berry do you kind of associate that with?
I think the first thing I think of is either that blue Fruitopia or Swedish berries.
Okay, fair. I think it's less Swedish berry. I think this more so is a blackberry reminiscent.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I like this. Next holiday season, if it's on your shelves or your grocery shelves, maybe you give Mary Berry Buble a try. Again, not hashtag ad, not hashtag sponsored, but hashtag delicious, Matt Alba.
Nice.
Oh, man. But while we're here on my reoccurring segments, Matt, I'm looking at our Steam right now, and I both see that we've been putting some hours into some video games, Matt. And let's face it, after last week's episode, Palworld for me, Matt, has 0 playtime on Steam. So I guess that's that's valid for my no recent activity segment. But
Jordan, I can't believe you bought Palworld and then didn't play it.
Matt, you know what I've been playing this week? What? I've been playing a disgusting amount this week.
What have you been playing, Jared?
For this dumb segment. Matt, you know me. We've been friends for a long time now.
Yes.
And you know how medieval kind of, aesthetic, medieval based, not really my jam. Not really my jam because I'm looking for a particular peanut butter variety. if we're speaking metaphors right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that peanut butter variety is anime waifu, I guess. So Matt,
Yeah.
a few, I guess, years ago, early game pass for Jaren, I saw a game called Neoverse.
Yes.
And the cover art was, front and center, you have your ninja lady with a gun, obviously. Beside her, you had a knight. And then beside her, you have, I guess, like some elven woman. But to be fair, Matt, I haven't played for class yet. But as I played it, Neoverse is a card battler, deck building, roguelite game. Akin to a Slay the Spire, akin to a Monster Train. And this was, when I first played it on Game Pass years ago, I feel like saying wasn't in the right state of mind sounds really bad, but for some reason, the first time I played this game, I couldn't wrap my head around, card synergies, some of the mechanics, and essentially trying to figure out how to best play this roguelike game. It eventually gets delisted from Game Pass or leaves Game Pass, and I believe so. This originally came in early access 2019, was released proper in 2020. I don't believe it's had an update since then, but I would think two Steam sales ago, I saw this again for $5. I think original price right now is 22 Canadian. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll pick this up and play it eventually. First, I was alarmed because when I bought the game, I booted up my Steam Deck to go install it because I thought, okay, this would be a perfect before bed game. And Matt, it's not deck verified. And that really broke my heart. And then cue this segment. I was looking through my list of games that I have 0 playtime in, and then I saw Neoverse again. And I thought, I'm floored why this game isn't deck verified. So I Googled it, saw Googled Neoverse deck verified ? And that took me to pretty much the only site you should really refer to with a Steam Deck, ProtonDB, just to kind of see firsthand experience of how people are finding performance on the Steam Deck. And despite being said that it's not supported by the deck or deck verified, this is legit playable right off the box. And I think with how strict Valve is, when they're granting that deck verified seal of approval, I think it's one of those, if you don't have proper keyboard support, if you can't just pull up the keyboard, or maybe for older games, I think if the devs don't check some box or something, I think it's little things like that will kind of not get you that green or yellow badge. But I was pleasantly surprised to see that, nope, I can install this on the deck and play it. And needless to say, Matt, as much as I've been wanting to join your server, joining Subin's server, have my own single player world in Palworld, essentially connect with friends and connect with pals. I've been connecting with Claire and Naya in Neoverse because, Matt, now that I have a refreshed perspective when it comes to card roguelites, this game is okay. This game was definitely worth the $5 I paid on Steam Deck. So let's get into it real quick. Neoverse is, as I said before, a card-based roguelite game. You have 3 modes of play. You have your adventure mode, which is essentially 5 different worlds, or 3 different worlds with 5 stages each. At the end of every 5th stage is a boss stage. You start off in this kind of post-apocalypse, you move on to something medieval, and then you move on to a world with, cyberspace. Matt, it's a multiverse game, multi-dimensional verse game, and Each character has their own archetypes, but there are 4 different card types. You have your attack cards, you have your defend cards, you have something called an instant card, which is essentially like a buff type card, and then you have something called constant, which is another type of buff card, but can essentially, when you play those cards, they can set up different synergies for you, but 4 card types. And the thing that I guess I couldn't wrap my head around the first time I played this game, but is I'm more used to this time around, is it has a combo system where on the left side of your screen, you might have 3 to 5 icons depicting the card type. So you might have, say, red, blue, red, which means attack, defend, attack, where if you play those cards in that order, you'll achieve a combo. And once you're in that combo state, your next attack card will do double damage. And I think having that combo meter, that combo list really makes some of these runs a lot more, I think, tactical in a way of, oh, do I continue to build this combo or do I break it just to do another move that might benefit me more in this current situation, where I think it takes a bit to get used to, and sometimes it's really, I'll admit, it's hard to kind of see where you are in the combo, because if you do a few of the steps earlier, they'll kind of be on fire a bit, and then your current combo move will flash periodically. But sometimes, especially on the Steam Deck, it's kind of hard to make that out as well. But I think the combo mechanic is actually really cool. Something I haven't seen in the very few card roguelites I've seen before. But other than that, it's kind of your standard game. When you start off, you have your standard deck. In between games, you are able to earn gold, which you can buy items that you can use, different cards, and then there are skill points that you earn that you can use to kind of buy skills on a skill tree that affect that run only. And Matt, I wanted to get your thoughts on how Neoverse does a skill tree for this roguelite, where once you essentially have to play each class a few times to earn enough XP to unlock all their class cards and all their proper skills. So essentially, when it comes to skills, you have a dozen or so for that class only, and then you have a dozen that are your multi-purpose or multi-class skills, general skills per se. And in the skill tree, it's a 5x5 grid with different skills. But the issue is every time you start a new run, those skills and their placements are randomized. So sometimes you might get skills, you say one of the decks I like to play has me using a skill of, okay, every time my hand's empty and I have no more cards to draw from my deck, it will just reshuffle the deck and then give me a new hand. Instead of me having to end my turn. Or I like the other skill of, once I reach 0 mana, it will turn one random card in my hand, 0 mana cost. So those are kind of the basic skills I like, but you're not guaranteed to get those skills and like the skills in those placements during a run. And the issue of not having the same placements is you can only get the bottom 5 and the rightmost skills if you buy every skill in their respective row or column. And sometimes you might be working towards one of like the 3-star skills, but you might have to buy a 2-star skill or 1-star skill that completely goes against your deck. Because in terms of when I was explaining the combo system, Matt, not to get all meta, but realistically, you only want to have like one or two card types in your deck, so you have easier combos to do. Because the moment you have what, like, say I have a mostly attack and instant heavy deck, there's one common skill that says, oh, at the start of each battle, you'll get one constant card. And then all of a sudden, oh no, now I have a constant card in my rotation. And even though I might have only one, if a new combo starts during my turn, I don't have access to that card anymore. So it's one of those situations where sometimes, even though you might have a lot of good skills, they might be comboed with other skills that are not really great for the deck you're trying to run. And I guess, Matt, what do you think of that idea of how the Neoverse handles, I guess, their passive skills for their rogue runs?
It sounds interesting to me. Like, I kind of like that idea of randomizing a skill tree.
Yeah.
I do see that, like, what you're talking about. Because it's randomized, you sometimes have to get skills that don't synergize with your deck, or I guess build in general.
Yeah.
Do you not have any option to, in any way, like, minimize that randomness?
Not that I've seen, especially for the skills. Like, in terms of your deck, this game has, for your character, there's gear slots, and you can buy gear. One of the best gear is AI White Candy, which essentially, in between each battle, gives you access to what they call the lab. And in the lab, you can pay gold to either regain some health, evolve one of your cards to make them more powerful, or more importantly, remove a card from your deck. And then normally during your runs, when you select a stage, if it's a non-boss, or no, even in the boss battle stage, you get one of 3 fights that you get to pick. And depending on each fight has a mission that you don't have to complete during that battle, but it gets added to your mission board of, hey, achieve 3 combos to get a reward, which could be anything from gold, skills, or even remove a card, evolve a card, stuff like that. So essentially, with the attack and the defend, another cool thing I like about the game is how they handle parries and how they handle precision kills. So, Matt, this has a parry system where, say I have armor cards. The defend cards give you armor. And say I have 3 armor, and one of the opponents is going to attack me for 3. So when a opponent attacks you for the same amount as your armor, like exact amount, you'll do a parry, which essentially locks them out of their next turn, which is pretty cool when it works out. And some missions have that. On the flip side, say I'm fighting an enemy and they have 3 health left, and I use an attack that's only 3 attack. That gives me a precision kill, and that gives me bonus gold. So it's kind of stuff like that, which I kind of enjoy in terms of trying to manipulate my play style to kind of get the most out of every action that I have. Other than that, it has 3 modes of play. As I said, it's your adventure mode, which is 15 fights in all. And then once you clear it the first time, you unlock Transcendence, which adds different modifiers. There's up to 10 levels, and every time you increase the level, you'll add a new modifier to your kind of run. Then there's Hunter mode, which is kind of a 20 battle run, and you have kind of less options there compared to normal adventure. And the last mode is challenge mode, and this is something that I'm curious to see if you've seen this in any of the deck building roguelites that you've played. But essentially, when you play through adventure mode or hunter mode, at the end of the run, you can choose to save your deck. It will save your deck, it will save and all the skills that you've purchased during that run. And afterwards, that becomes a challenge deck, and you can bring that deck into challenge mode, which again is I don't know how many run battles it has, but you use those decks that you choose to save, and it has a in-game currency cost to enter.
Mm.
And hunter mode's kind of the arena drafting mode as well. So if you like drafting, that's the mode you play. But yeah, Matt, in terms of the challenge mode, have you ever played something of roguelite where it's asked you to save your deck to use later?
Jaren, I'll be honest. I
Yeah.
so barely ever get to the end of these
Okay.
things that I can't say I have.
Okay, fair enough. But in terms of difficulty, I think Neoverse, especially when you realize, it's really best to only have two card types in your deck. I think it's a really manageable game. And I think that's why I end up burning a lot of time in it this week. I think I currently have 17 hours into it. And Matt, not gonna lie, this weekend I found myself going to bed like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. just because it has that heavy. It's not as kind of difficult where you're kind of wrapping your head around, but at the same time it has that just one more run energy, one more battle energy that I really like. And yeah, on the flip side, visually it does look like a typical Asian free to play game, but I think you can do a lot worse for $5 if this is the type of game you like. What's up, Matt?
I honestly, when I first saw the Neoverse like art splash like page, I honestly thought this was a hentai game.
Fair enough, but it's a decent card deck building roguelite, and I think there are things that I like about it. But yeah, next time it's on the Steam sale, check it out. Each character has 3 costumes, and then of course, Matt, there are costume packs.
Jaren, do you own any of the costume packs?
No, but Matt,
Jaren,
can I go through the 4 costume packs they have on sale for $230 each, and tell me if you're surprised or not? Okay, Matt. Cyberpunk costume pack.
I mean that makes I can imagine a cyberpunk costume pack in this. Yeah.
Matt. Superhero pack.
Honestly, that one seems. Is it like real superheroes, or is it just like this person has a cape now?
Pretty much, this person has a cape now.
Okay, that's kind of weak.
Matt. Hot break costume pack. This is swimsuits.
Oh yeah, okay, of course, yeah, Jaren. You know what? If it's gonna look sort of like an H game, I'm gonna assume there's a swimsuit. Or I'm not gonna be surprised there's a swimsuit pack.
And there's also, of course, Matt, Skullgirl pack.
Yeah, of course, Jaren, of course.
Of course, Matt. Neoverse. Currently on Steam for $23 Canadian. I bought it for like $5 during a Steam sale. If you're looking for, from what I've seen, a less punishing Slay the Spire with anime girls. Not I guess not anime, but free to play Asian game girls, I guess, of that aesthetic. Give it a try. Give it a try, because once you get a deck going, Matt, that you like, pretty good. But I'm also at that point, 17 hours in, of I'm kind of done playing around with all these different cards. I know what works, what doesn't. So it's me kind of resetting runs until I get the meta cards and meta skills that I want. And I guess I'm just making the game unfun for myself right now. But if you're looking for something that you could do one more run before bed, you can do a lot worse. You can probably do better, I guess. But hey, if this is your aesthetic, check it out. So Matt, speaking about anime girls and the Schoolgirl DLC costume pack, I feel like with My Dress Up Darling, specifically releasing or me reading chapter 100, I feel like we should circle back and discuss, I guess, what seems to be the end of at least the Haniel cosplay arc before it, I guess, transitions into the aftermath or the post cosplay event arc. But Matt, I think the last time we talked about My Dress Up Darling, this was hot off the coffin arc, and us showing excitement with the Haniel arc in particular, just because when this arc was first starting out, there was pieces at play, specifically with the Hanyul manga author and really Gojo taking on the most difficult cosplay project yet with this alluring character with such intricate details in what would become or what would the costume be overall. And I think with the last, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's been like 13 or so chapters. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think with the Haniel arc, I'm really excited to see where it goes, especially with the end being Marin was approached by a professional cosplay agent, and
Yeah.
then the Haniel author being at least hinted that he's going to be made aware of the cosplay itself.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I'm so excited is because I think, Matt, one of the things we end up mentioning to each other every time we read a new chapter is that, and in this arc in particular, the pacing's getting a bit rough for my dress up darling. And I think
Yeah.
with the last few arcs in particular, that's been kind of made apparent. Where, don't get me wrong, I really liked the cosplay circle and everyone essentially fanning over Marin and her Haniel cosplay, but at the same time, I feel like the at least chapters 97, 98, and 99 could have been one chapter
Yeah.
where it was essentially everyone taking pictures of Marin, and each chapter gives you a new perspective, whether it be Gojo, whether it be Marin's friends, whether it be certain photographers. But at the same time, nothing's really progressing. It's just everyone kind of indulging in Marin's cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with the Haniel arc so far in particular, there's been a lot of highs, but the pacing itself is really what's dragging it down for me. Even when Gojo and Marin were kind of going about trying to find the proper materials for the costume itself, those dragged on pretty well, where we had, 2 3 chapters that could have been condensed a lot more
Yeah.
and really ended off, there were a few chapters that kind of ended off with, oh, you made no progress at all, and all we saw was you finding something that just doesn't work for this cosplay. And again, we've mentioned before that as a as a manga or a story that revolves around cosplay, the trials and tribulations of making a really good cosplay is in full effect. And those are valid stories to be told. But as it was mentioned before, when you kind of go in as a fan of romance novel or manga or romance stories, it's really hard to hang on to this. It's getting really difficult, Matt, at least
Mm-hmm.
for me personally in that regard. But in particular, I wanted to bring up chapter 93, and I think I found it to be one of the strongest overall chapters in the series so far. Um, that was essentially Gojo's monologue where, um, seeing his psychological turmoil that he's facing, comparing himself to his peers, and forcing himself to really face his shortcomings and ultimately how to overcome them. I thought that was a really great chapter just because it kind of shows just how emotional Gojo is to this craft, but at the same time, how inferior he still feels, that sense of imposter syndrome where to date he's made some really great cosplay, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, just seeing him and how he just doesn't feel just feels like he's worthy enough to do something this grand for Marin. Just seeing how he's kind of battling those thoughts and his, eureka moment when he realizes, oh, maybe I can draw from my Hinadal experiences and maybe I can use what my own strengths in this other world I thought was really great. But again, Matt, for that strong showing, it's essentially sandwiched in between chapters that drag. But now that the annual, at least the cosplay event, has come to the close, Matt, how have you been feeling about the annual arc overall since the coffin arc?
Jaren, I honestly feel extremely similar to how you feel. I feel like the past, like, I don't know, when this gets, hopefully, I mean, I guess at least when this gets animated, I really, really hope that this whole costume, like, creation and this circle doesn't
Yeah.
take more than 3 episodes.
Yes.
Like, I, I think you could have dropped, I don't know, like, I think within the past 10, 13 chapters, like you said, I think you can drop maybe like 5 of these chapters, and
Yeah.
you will have not lost anything in the story.
Like, don't get me wrong, the I guess the spectacle of the cosplay circle
Mm-hmm.
was I really can't wait to see that animated. Just kind of the lore that the author was drawing or giving Marin. I thought like some of those panels were gorgeous. And as beautiful as I thought they were, again, Matt, it a lot of those chapters for the cosplay event was essentially just drawing Marin at different angles.
Yeah,
And while I enjoyed how they looked, still kind of dragged on. But
yeah.
I'm really looking forward to, I guess, what comes out of this arc because, again, it sets up three major things at the end. One, the cosplay agent, two, the manga artist taking notice. But three, I think most importantly, is how Gojo ultimately reacted to Marin in the cosplay circle, where I think it's that realization of, oh, this used to be something I did with Marin for fun, but
Mm-hmm.
now he's seeing, the fruits of his labor. And that's kind of taking the form of, oh, everyone's now kind of looking at Marin, and we don't know if he's feeling some sort of ways because Marin's getting the attention, or it's kind of him processing all these people are captivated by something I did. It's probably like the
Mm.
former, but I'd be curious to see if he's kind of conscious of, oh, everyone likes this cosplay. I made this, and then what that means to him. But I I do hope it kind of forces him to be more expressive with his feelings just because I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
like we as readers don't know what he's thinking, and I think that's the most exciting part of, is this going to be the push that he needs to realize, oh, I have feelings for Marin, or is this maybe a shot of confidence? Is this something that will make him feel even more inferior?
Uh-huh.
I think that's what I'm excited to see, but also Matt,
Mm-hmm.
and this isn't a dig at Marin, but I think where my dress up darling really shines and when it really progresses forward is when Gojo actually opens up, when he gets to be vulnerable, when he actually gets, character development. And I
Mm-hmm.
hope moving forward, this forces Gojo to act. And on the flip side, I kind of hope this also means that Marin grows as a character as well, since
Yeah.
arguably, as much as the dynamic between her and Gojo is good, she's also still a pretty static character as well. Where she's our bubbly female protagonist. We know that she likes Gojo, but she hasn't really found the opportunity to kind of explore that with him. But at the same time, I don't know if you agree with this, Matt, but
Mm-hmm.
I think when a character is so outgoing in, these types of stories, you kind of tend to let their lack of progress slide because it's that perception of, oh, Marin's social, so she's quote unquote good, or at least in a better place than Gojo is from that social standpoint, where I think they're both pretty static characters right now. But again, Marin is she has friends and
Uh-huh.
she smiles a lot, so that's okay, right? For now, of course. But yeah, I was wondering what you thought of something like that.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Jaren, I think that for outgoing characters like Marin, like basically the gal in any like gal otaku
Yeah.
like manga, they usually are kind of the, I don't want to say conflict. I guess like the story sparker.
Right.
So they do, I think, like outside of the very start of any arc, they do tend to kind of just fade away as the arc itself goes on, and then they come back again at the start of the next arc in terms of development. But going kind of like back to, I guess, like Gojo's development,
Yeah.
I really am interested in that because I do think that the story is going to go kind of similar to how you said, where like, you know, Gojo's kind of going to have to become more expressive himself. But I kind of hope that on Marin's side, I'm assuming they're going to have, just kind of like think about how the story could play out. I'm assuming they are going to have kind of a concurrent storyline going on for Marin. And I'm assuming she's going to be either looking into or joining that cosplay agency.
Right.
And a story that I really do want to see is Marin working with a costume maker that isn't Gojo.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, kind of like Gojo doing that same thing in reverse for someone new when he's not also working on Marin's stuff. Because I feel like that would be like an interesting, I don't know, kind of just like switch up to see.
Yeah, and I think something like that is, I think, a really good dynamic to explore, especially in their relationship overall. And just to see what, I think that creates an opportunity to see what both Marin and Gojo really like about cosplay. And in turn, is it the act of cosplaying or creating costumes itself, or is it just the fact this gave them an excuse to spend time with one another? And when they're both like spending less time with one another, is it still a enjoyable pastime for the both of them? Or, you know, it's that idea of when you make hobby work, is it still enjoyable? And I'm curious to see if that gets explored as well. If it does get explored, in terms of the manga artist storyline, is that something that you have hopes for, or is that kind of on the back burner for you?
I think it's kind of on the back burner. I don't see anything, I don't know, personally interesting happening on that story. Like, I think at best it's, oh, yeah, this girl contradicts what I thought Haniel could ever be. And I don't, other than more popularity or light being shown on Marin, I don't see it doing any more than that. Which is kind of why I wish the arc itself went faster, because I almost feel like, to me, it seems unimportant now.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like the cosplay agent kind of really overshadows the manga artist storyline in a way, where I think the cosplay agent came out of nowhere, really. And it kind of makes sense. We do see they've, you know, made reference to professional cosplay in the past, and for Marin to really kind of face it on her own now, I think the on her own part is the most interesting thing, just because like up until now, anything Marin's cosplay was it came in the pair. It's her and Gojo coming together. And as you said, Matt, I want to see if she does explore that route, if the conflict comes from, oh, her cosplaying in something not made by Gojo really alters her perception of cosplay, and even how the aura that she kind of gives out. But kind of tying up the Hanyo arc for now, Matt, what did you think of the end of the cosplay circle of just her not really being quote unquote prepared, you know, not having her cos card, essentially giving everyone free reign to post it for non-commercial purposes? How do you think the ending to the cosplay event was?
Honestly, I thought, oh yeah, that's as expected for like Marin's character.
Yeah. Just, you know, she's in it for the love of cosplay itself. So when kind of faced with a talent agency, and we know that she's a model already, but to see her hobby, yeah, I think that's the thing I'm most excited about. But yeah, Matt, my dress up darling, Hano arc, I guess the midpoint really. Now we're coming to the post cosplay event.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Again, I'm really looking forward to it being animated. Hopefully, it gets animated. But yeah, Matt could trim some of the fat there, but not gonna lie, Matt. Those that first chapter of her kind of unveiling her cosplay at the event, like stunning, like really
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
gorgeous, really well drawn. But then it happened again for the next two chapters,
Uh-huh.
and I thought, overstaying its welcome. Where
Yeah.
I know this probably won't be the case, but my hope is that tighter storytelling moving forward. But considering we just came off the coffin arc, considering what we read here, probably not the
Yeah.
case.
Jaren, I feel like it wouldn't have been as bad if this was like a weekly release instead of an almost monthly release.
Yeah, I yeah, Matt. I think that's my issue as well, where you kind of really wait for just a new story chapter and then you realize, oh, it's really nothing. But
Mm-hmm.
so it is when you follow a periodical manga release. But that's my dress up darling,
Mm-hmm.
chapter 100, halfway point or concluding at least this portion of the Hanyo arc. Really excited again to see where Gojo and Marin go from here.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Matt, hopefully we'll see some update or some progress in the romance field, but also just in these characters and their growth.
Mm-hmm.
So, Matt,
Mm-hmm.
speaking about character growth and
Mm-hmm.
growth between friends,
Uh-huh.
we've been alluding to it throughout this episode. And after our sudden decision last week to purchase Palworld, the Steam version,
Yes.
Matt,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at my Steam activity right now,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and I'm seeing, Matt, that you, my friend, have put in some hours into this game.
And I put in, I think, 65 hours into Palworld
Yep.
in a week.
It says 65 hours on record, last played January 29th. That was today, Matt.
That was
That was
2 hours
today,
ago. Mm-hmm.
and you still only have one achievement from what I see.
Jaren, okay, yeah, I don't know why I'm not getting more achievements. Like,
Matt,
uh-huh,
you have defeated Zoe and Grisbolt,
yeah.
but it's telling me you haven't caught your first pal, you
Mhm.
haven't caught 10 kinds of pals, and so on and so forth. When I scroll through my Steam activity, all my friends playing this game have gotten those achievements. My first question,
Yeah.
Matt, why aren't you unlocking achievements?
I don't know, Jaren. I'm surprised I haven't been unlocking them. I only noticed that I wasn't getting them like 2 days ago. But like I thought maybe it's because I'm not playing in single player. But
Right.
I wouldn't have gotten the defeated Zoe and Grisbolt or I also would not have gotten that one if I wasn't playing if I was playing in single player because I haven't touched the single player in the Steam version of Palworld at all.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why I'm not getting any Chivos, Jaren.
But even though you're not getting any achievements, Matt, you're getting memories.
Mhm.
You're getting some serious gameplay sessions. And since we last talked about this game, I feel like it's sold 1 billion copies.
Yeah.
Even when we were talking about how it sold 3 million copies in, I think it was 40 hours. That was already outdated by the time we were talking about it live.
Yeah.
But it's been a week since we've, talked about our times in Palworld. You actually spending time more so than myself. But Matt, I think before we kind of get into your adventures, is it just me or is discourse around this game like really weird right now? Because
Yeah.
I think in between, all the weird allegations that this game has AI generated art, how it's, just the legal minefield it is with, it's not Pokemon. And then just, I guess, all the discussion over is this game actually good, or is it just, coasting off, this notoriety? Is it just coasting off how, like, again, this discourse, which is really weird?
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I see all these conflicting thoughts and news pieces, Matt, you know what I also see? I see a friends list of people playing this game, people that I'm actually surprised have played this, where it's kind of obvious that the word of mouth is working, but at the same time, it's still an early access game. And
Mm-hmm.
as someone with 65 hours, now with the Steam version, Matt,
Yes.
what have I been missing uh, as a person who's only played the Xbox Palworld?
Jaren, I think that what you're missing, I think the server stuff is very fun. Like having a server there is very interesting because I don't know, it stays persistent so your pals can keep doing stuff, which is very nice because, your whole issue of leaving eggs in the thing overnight and then coming back in and saying, hey, they're still at the exact same time is
Yeah.
gone.
Okay.
But in terms of like actual moment to moment stuff, I think the things that really stood out to me the most, Jaren, is that arrows aren't 1-to-1 crafting anymore.
Really?
Yeah, like the arrows, because in the Xbox version, it's one arrow to one like wood and rock that you make, but now in the Steam version, you get 3 for every wood and rock, which I think was crazy. I think even the bullets were 1-to-1 in the Xbox version, which would be crazy because of how quickly you go through ammo, and I don't know the ability to rename your pals gives it a very nice little touch. It's not like anything like game breaking, but I think also having a quit game button on the screen is very reassuring for some reason.
So it's the quality of life is obviously there in the Steam version.
Yeah, also like the tree I think is set up differently for sure.
Okay. That
Mm-hmm.
it's obvious that you're enjoying your time.
Yes.
And it's something I kind of want to get into, but
Mm-hmm.
I think I've been thinking a lot about the popularity of Palworld this week. And
Yeah.
I guess that's just because everyone's talking about the popularity of Palworld, where the survival genre is, I wouldn't say it's a niche genre just because you have so many games in that space that kind of define generations,
Mm-hmm.
whether you consider, that's your Minecraft, that's your Ark, and then even with the farming sims in between, while not really survival adjacent, there's some of the DNA gets
Yeah.
sprinkled here and there. And even though it's not a survival game, you saw remnants in it in like Animal Crossing New Horizons,
Mm-hmm.
which was also a generational game to a lot of people because of the pandemic
Yeah.
and the success of the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Where, Matt, do you think with Pal World's, newfound success, which really came out of nowhere, is the reason why this game has sticking power, you think that for a lot of people this is their first, I guess, mainstream introduction to survival games, or do you think it's something else?
I think that really helps.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it is also playing on a lot of nostalgia obviously is going to boost that as well. But I think the survival genre, when it clicks for you, is so interesting because it not only is gameplay, it is also creativity flexing.
Right.
And when you have something where you can kind of express your own creativity or, kind of do it in your own way, I think that is always such a good, I don't know, system to fall into for the first time.
Right.
And I think that the fact that Palworld itself, as an early access, is pretty. It's very good. Like it is a very within itself a solid game. For the most part, I would say that it is. I don't want to say feature complete, but it has enough complete features that it feels like, I don't know, this could have been a release if it wasn't so buggy.
Right.
Because I wonder if this is having something similar of the effect as Baldur's Gate did to kind of like that pen and paper genre, where it is setting a new standard. Because, Jaren, there was another game that came out sort of this week as well, that launched in early access that I was very much looking forward to. It was Enshrouded. This is also another game that's in the kind of survival genre. And the initial reviews for it on Steam ended up just like going mixed for its first day, which I think is always a bad feeling or sign for a early access game. And a lot of the reviews were already comparing it to Palworld. Stuff like, hey, the building in this isn't as good as Palworld. It does not feel good. The gameplay loop is not as complete. Like, Palworld has a much better like opening gameplay loop. It is like very kind of like plain, empty, and stuff like that. And I don't know. The reviews now have like shifted to very positive. I guess as like more people got their hands on it, they're gonna put in like positive reviews for a game that they enjoy, that they see as mixed, and they want to have more other people play.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested in seeing the overall effect that Palworld being an early access game has on early access survival games in particular. Because I think also Valheim had a very similar effect. And I don't know, like with such quality like early access games, I wonder how also long that feeling is gonna last within this like I guess like genre or early access games in general.
So the way I'm looking at Palworld right now is kind of how I'm looking at Lego Fortnite as well, just because, that was a huge survival release back when it came out early December. But then you kind of realize, okay, they put it out early December, the Christmas break happened, and really that mode hasn't seen, for I believe, any real notable updates, whether it be content or mechanical, since it just launched. And
yeah,
when we saw how much of a juggernaut Lego Fortnite was when it came out. We could see its concurrent players just on the Fortnite mode selection screen. There were times when it had like 2 million, 2.5 million players, and when I looked, I think earlier in the morning, even sometimes in the evening when I occasionally pop into Fortnite here and there, that kind of only hovers around 10,000, maybe 100K on like a good evening, where again, you can even argue that Lego Fortnite is early access per se, just because, Matt, let's face it, they still consider Fortnite overall an early access. But
okay.
I think, part of the discussion is with the success. It's the same thing we discussed last week, and I think the only difference is we saw a roadmap, at least a early access roadmap that who's the devs, Pocket Pair, I believe.
Yeah.
That they released as well. And I think even with that roadmap and it being kind of a week later, I'm still on the fence to kind of really see. I think that's the big question. Will they continue supporting this game, or will this be, again, a Craftopia situation? But Matt, speaking of their roadmap, what do you think of the planned future updates, which were simply PvP, raid bosses, endgame content, PAL Arena, PvP for PALs, Steam Xbox crossplay, various Xbox feature improvements, server transfer and migrations, improvements to the building system, and new islands, PALs, bosses, and technologies? Again, even though we see a roadmap, it's still pretty general and light in details, but does the list of planned feature updates kind of do anything for you?
I mean, it's very interesting for me. For the most part, Jaren, as I've discussed on the show before, I am a baby, so
Mm-hmm.
PvP and Pal PvP are something that honestly just don't interest
That's
me.
no go. Yeah.
The raid bosses is interesting because I do think that this game kind of lacks end game content variety because really I feel like what I'm doing kind of towards end game or what I perceive right now to be end game is after completing the map just kind of looking for dungeons,
Mm.
and I really hope that the dungeon system gets a revamp because not only in variety because I think there's really only like 3 or 4 layouts for a dungeon. I am interested in seeing what this raid boss stuff is and how it's going to work for, especially for like single player people, because like in my head, a raid boss is always like 5 to 20 man content.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in
And
seeing
pretty
what that's
mechanic
going to
heavy
be.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do hope that the dungeons are able to change, whether it's just stuff like, hey, something like we're adding effects to dungeons, or you can re-roll dungeons to do something different, or something like that. Like just a way to make the dungeons more interesting right now is honestly what I'm really looking for. The Steam Xbox crossplay is going to be interesting. I do wonder how long something like that would take, not from
Mm-hmm.
a programming perspective, but more so from a permissions perspective, because I feel like
Right.
that's really what's going to be hard. Because I'm not confident on this, but I almost feel like I've read recently that even like the not Game Pass version, but the Microsoft specific version of like the non Java version of Minecraft still doesn't allow like crossplay with people who are using like the I know they merged the original Mojang version into
Yeah.
like the kind of like Xbox environment, but I thought I heard that there's still some like issues in terms of like getting server play on some versions of Minecraft, which is wild to me. Um,
All I know in that regard is I remember I think we all bought into like early access Minecraft
oh yeah,
way
yeah.
back in the day, and I kept getting emails about, hey, you should really merge this your Mojang account into your Microsoft account, and
Uh
I think
huh.
I missed the deadline, so I'm not sure what
Oh,
happened
I think
there.
your thing's gone. I think they legitimately got rid of those accounts. So if you didn't do it, your copy of Minecraft is gone.
Well, feels bad, Matt. Feels
Digital
bad,
age,
but
Jaren. Digital age.
maybe that's a conversation for another time.
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm. Yeah, but like the server transfers and migrations, I really hope is a thing
mhm,
because I do think that like hey, Palworld is the new hotness right now. But I feel like you know before the month is over, the numbers are gonna like drop dramatically, and I feel like server transfers would be really nice ad
yeah,
so that people can merge over, come over to other like yeah, come over to other servers. I don't really think that like based on the way that the kind of like game is, where it has that fixed map and you're kind of just building a base on it somewhere instead of kind of like a randomized map where you kind of build it for the first time. I don't think people who are going to be coming from another server can bring their base with them, which is unfortunate. But I do hope that being able to transfer over your pals and your progress would be very good, especially if
yeah.
you're going to be playing multiplayer or kind of like a guild with other people. Because Jaren, I don't like the guild system in this game.
Really.
Yeah, I think it's almost with the way the guild is set up, almost crucial that you start with people
Hmm.
or you start on your own and kind of just like all play on the same server. Because I think the big thing for me that I really don't like about the guild system is that as a guild, you're limited to 3 bases. Like
Right.
it's not like as you remember, like when you're playing single player, you as you level up your pal box, you're able to like, build more bases, and by default at the max you're able to have 3. But like let's say 2 people are going to join a guild, they don't get 6, they just get 3.
That's
And
rough.
if
That's really
20
rough.
people are in a guild, they don't get 60, they get 3. Which from a map perspective, I understand why that's the case, but it's really like I don't know, I think it's bad.
That's
um
weird. I would assume just at least one per person, but
yeah, I would have
yeah,
assumed that
that's
this was 1 per person as well, but yeah, I think that feels kind of bad. I think a feature I really really want is friends in within a
hmm
server, so that you can have your 3 bases, I can have my 3 bases, and I can be like, oh, this person on this server is my friend. I will allow them to willingly enter my base, and then they they can take my crap on any chest I left unpassworded.
fine. Fair enough.
Uh huh.
Fair enough, Matt. But
Mhm.
yeah, I feel like as a outsider looking in terms of Minecraft, and gotta mention our love of Hololive again.
Mhm.
I think watching Hololive members, Holostar members, and seeing them playing on shared servers, not only for Minecraft, well, particularly for Minecraft, but also now with Palworld as
Mhm.
well, where it is that social aspect that I think is really important. And kind of looping back to the conversation of the current discourse of this game and the ongoing debate of is Palworld actually a good game, where I think a lot of it is an early access. There is a lot of jank to it. Some things can definitely be fleshed out as indicated by their roadmap, but at the same time, I think it is that it. I'm getting a lot of that Animal Crossing New Horizons energy with this
Mhm.
title in
Mhm.
particular, where even though it's janky, even though there are a lot of other survival games on the market right now that are more polished, that have tighter mechanics,
Mhm.
it's that zeitgeist buff of a lot of people are playing it. And I think ultimately that may, at least to me, trump any technical shortcomings or uninspired gameplay shortcomings, where I think you know I can see where people are coming from in kind of the debate of how you know maybe mechanically light it is, how bare bones it is, or just how it feels overall. But at the same time, I think it also kind of you know what they say, Matt. History is written by the victor, and what I
Mhm.
mean here is this seems to be the mainstream survival game at the moment, and I think it's that fact that will trump any current gameplay discussion until the next one is able to come along. And you know by this sound, if I'm looking at history again, going
Mhm.
back to New Horizons, even though the Animal Crossing birthed a lot of games that followed in its footsteps, were inspired by it. Uh, I don't think it's been overcome or none of those titles overcame it, just because um, the whole pandemic and situation really added to the adoption of the game.
Mhm.
Likewise with Palworld, just seeing its meteoric rise and then its adoption as well. I think once everyone gets their servers with their friends as well, it's
Mhm.
going to be really hard to top, just because as much as no one really likes to admit it, at least for me, it is that even though they might be really light, that pseudo Pokemon aspect also does a lot of heavy lifting to,
Mhm.
from what I've seen, to casual players as well, where that's kind of their end. And that was basically my long rant of saying, yeah, I can definitely acknowledge this might not be a great game technically, but at the same time, it's, I think, competent enough, even more so, like more than competent in some areas, where I'm not looking at it of going, oh, this is actually a bad game, but more so, I really do, and I still hope that they're able to capitalize on the success, and I hope that it's well supported in the future. But Matt,
Mhm.
before we move on, but speaking about you know the Pokemon link.
Yes.
I know there was that statement or that announcement from the Pokemon company that, inquiries regarding other companies' games. So of course, Matt, the Pokemon company aware of, how Palworld is performing, and I'm pretty sure, their legal departments are combing through to see if there are any grounds of, infringement. But at the same time, Matt, when you see the success of Palworld, and even though it's it's a survival game at heart, but still lightly lifting elements that people have come to know for Pokemon. Before we sign off for the night, Matt, as someone who has put in a lot of hours in both Pokemon and Palworld, do you think the Pokemon Company, Game Freak, or even Nintendo, do you think there's any, for lack of a better term, lessons here? Or do you think they're looking at Pokemon or they're looking at Palworld, and we see a reverse, maybe not inspiration, or essentially what I'm trying to ask is, do you think this might be a kick in the pants to the Pokemon Company for their own games, or are the Pokemon games kind of stuck in their tracks right now?
I honestly don't think that Palworld is going to have any effect on the Pokemon games. I legitimately think that the statement that you kind of just brought up from Pokemon Company is really just a kind of fluff statement. I don't think anybody in the background there is really looking into any legal infringement upon Palworld, because that would be surprising to me for them to put time into this, because I think after the initial shock value of what Palworld is, I honestly don't think they'll care.
Right.
I think that Pokemon is going to continue the Pokemon Company is going to continue putting out the type of games that they've been putting at the quality they've been putting out, because I think that at the end of the day, it's still going to sell.
Right.
And I think that that's really not necessarily all they care about, but sort of all they care about. And it won't matter to a lot of people. I think it just becomes there's a new Pokemon game out. Oh, there's a new Palworld thing out at some point.
And we'll still keep on going on. All right, fair enough, Matt, fair enough. I think my perspective is lawyer's gonna lawyer. So I think for me, probably someone in the background's looking if there's a case, but at the most part, I honestly, you would hope that competition brings the best out of companies, but at the same time, I feel like even with the massive success Palworld is seeing, I don't think right now it's on the Pokemon Company's radar. I think, Matt, it's money talks, and kind of as you were alluding to, if those Pokemon sales dip, maybe that's the kick in the pants. I think all us long-term Pokemon fans are waiting for, but until then, I think this doesn't really do anything to those games overall. But Matt, I hope to join you on your server sometime this week. Hopefully, Matt, if I'm not continuing to build decks or playing another game that I'll eventually talk to for my no recent activities portion of this show. But Matt, that ended up being a briefer episode than I expected to be. So I want to thank you, as always, for joining me this week and editing this podcast.
Jaren, I want to thank you for hosting this week and, always hosting this show and bringing us our ASMR segment of the week.
Hey, thanks, man. And Matt, we're coming up to February. Man, where does the time go? That means you're another day, another episode closer to your big trip. Looking forward to, hearing about your stories eventually, but hopefully we can return. We can record a bunch of episodes to go in between there. I think we've been floating some ideas we actually fleshed out one, I think, earlier that really surprised me that I think would be really cool to kind of explore as well.
Jaren,
But yeah,
I am
what's up?
legitimately so scared about Japan because
Okay.
this trip can possibly be the first time we're gonna be driving, and
Whoa,
I'm
Matt, ballsy, Matt. Oh man.
Jared, they drive on the opposite side of the road. Their sign's gonna be in Japanese. Jared, I am legitimately so scared. Gonna kill a Japanese person by accident.
Oh man,
man.
Matt.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to coordinate when you guys come back and when you can record in person. Because Matt,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be there for the to hear the stories in the flesh. But that's a discussion for another time. Because Matt, that preview of you guys may or may not be driving. Wild, Matt, wild. But we can get into that when we get into that. But yeah, Matt, want to thank you as always. I want to thank Michael Buble. I want to thank Endless Challenge, I believe is the skill in Neoverse that I like, which reshuffles your hand and deck when you're out of it. You can combo that pretty well with cards that give you mana. What else? I want to thank Marin and Gojo. I want to thank Marin's friend, whose name slips me right now. I want to thank Zoe yet again. Matt, can I still catch Zoe in Palworld?
Yes, I have 3 Zoes so far, I think. Jared,
Okay, nice.
if you can't catch her by the time that you join the server, I got you.
Thanks, man.
Oh,
Thanks, man.
Oh, you know what, Jared? I just want to drop someone I don't want to thank, which is the Pals. I think it's like Pals of the Pyre or something in in Palworld. Pro tip: by the time you're mid 25 to 30, I want to say, in Palworld, you need to switch your house away from wood.
Okay.
Because when you get raided by the fire boys, oh, your house is done.
Oh, damn. Matt, hot tip. Literally. But Matt, thank you for your words of wisdom, and please take it away.
This has been the Mistake Zone, and we're all out of Hanio cosplay circles.